Well, welcome back, folks. In today's video we're going to reassemble the rear shock absorbers that I had taken apart, cut apart in a previous video, and we're going to now put the aftermarket shock back together with the re-chromed cap or cover right here. Allow me to review just a moment for those of you that might not have seen that original video. The original shocks are not salvageable, but what I did want to do is save this cover which goes on the top of the shock. This is an aftermarket shock that I found that is very close in size to the original shock absorber used on this TS50, with the exception of this adjuster right here. The original shock did not, the OEM shock did not have this adjuster. The overall length was the same, the diameter, the eyelets here for bolting to the bike, etc. are virtually the same as the original. So I sourced these aftermarket shocks. I think they came from Taiwan, if I remember. It's been a while, but I think I paid 90 to 100 US dollars-ish, something like that, for the pair. I cut the originals apart. They were not salvageable anyway. The chrome was all destroyed on them, and one of them had a bad seal because I wanted to save this cover which fits over the top. Now this shock I've already done, obviously, as you can see. So all of these parts are aftermarket with the exception of the cover right here I'm pointing to in my left index finger, and this cap right here, this piece, this fitting that threads onto the stem inside of there. And we'll come back to that in a minute. I'll explain why I used the original piece rather than the piece that came with the shock. This is the second aftermarket shock, and actually this is the one we're going to work on today. And as you can see, this has a threaded end right here. That's an 8mm by 1.25, pretty standard. And this is the aftermarket cap that just threaded on there, you know, something like that. So what I originally did, and I talked about this in the previous videos, I collapsed the shock, spun this off, because I needed to be able to eventually put this cap on over the top of this aftermarket spring. So the parts, the caps I sent off, got them re-chromed, got them back, and one little fly in the ointment was that this original piece right here, this original fitting, this top fitting right here, this boss right here I'm pointing to is larger than the hole in the cover. So to address this issue, I really had three options. One is I could open this hole up to fit the aftermarket shock, you know, this diameter here, which I didn't want to do because this is new chrome. So that wasn't going to work for me. Another option, second option, was to chuck this up in my lathe, probably in a 4-jaw chuck, and then turn this diameter down right here so that it would fit inside of the hole. That was second. And third was to take the original top fitting, this is off the original shock, or one of the original shocks, and drill a hole right there, which I've already done. Again, 8mm by 1.25, because this hole is already sized to fit, as you can see there, because these two parts are both original. The simplest I decided was simply to put this in my mill, my mini mill, drill it, and then tap it for that 8mm thread right here, and then reuse the original top piece. So I did that on both of these. So after drilling and tapping both of these pieces, this one and this one, I threw them in my tumbler for about 48 hours or so and just cleaned them up and polished them up. You can see how they look there. Again, this piece did not originally have a hole in it. This was, I don't know, a pressed together assembly into the original shaft. It was almost one piece, so I just cut it off on my bandsaw and then drilled it. So that was my solution in order to reuse the original top fitting. This aftermarket piece, of course, won't be used, so I'll just set that aside. So once I had that solution in place, then it becomes a matter of simply putting this back together, and to do that, you know, what I'll need to do is compress this spring and, you know, put it together, something like this, and then compress this spring so that I can get access to this threaded end of the shaft and put the unit back together. Now, I've covered this topic before, and in fact, I think it was for the YL1. At least I covered the topic once before, maybe even more than that. But the YL1, I did something similar. If you check here in the upper right corner, you'll see a link to that previous video, or one of my previous videos on doing a very similar process to collapse a shock. In order to collapse this shock, I'm going to use this little homemade rig right here, and it's very simply a bolt, a couple of turnbuckles. These are aluminum bodied, steel bolts, a couple of hooks, and we'll be able to collapse that spring without any issue, and we'll demonstrate that in a minute. I have a couple other ways of also collapsing shocks or breaking shocks down. This is a bracket that I made when I did my H2A back 12 years or so ago, and this is designed to fit around the springs that you would see right here. This is too big for this smaller shock, so I don't use this on small bikes, and then I have some hooks to go with it. That's what those holes are for, is put the hooks in. And then I use, again, the turnbuckles with this. So this doesn't work for the smaller shocks, and I also have a commercially made shock compressor right here. Again, this is also too big. You can see it right there. And it has hooks that connect into the springs, and the idea is you hook it like this, and you crank on this bolt, and then it pulls the shocks together. But again, it's too big for the smaller springs like you see on the TS50 shocks. And again, mid-size and larger, you know, anything bigger than probably 350, 400, this might work. But again, on these very small shocks, that won't work. So we're going to use this setup to compress this spring and put this unit back together. So let me change my setup a little bit. Here's our basic setup. You can see this is the bottom of the shock on the right. I've got the bolt through the bottom of the turnbuckles. Those can't come off, by the way. I pinched those eyelets in just enough for the hook so that the bolt can go through, but this won't pop off. They have to slide on from the end. And then just a nut and a washer here with a nut. And I keep the turnbuckles as far out, as I can, so that it doesn't bear against the side of the shock like that. One other note, you might want to pay attention to your springs because they're wound, depending on the spring. Some of them are wound in a progressive fashion. That is, they'll start looser, the coils, and they get tighter and tighter as we go, such as this particular shock. Others will be consistent, the spacing. I took a look at the original Suzuki shocks, and so I could have reversed this spring either way, but this is the way the original Suzuki shocks were wound or installed, so that's how I'm going to install these, which works out well because of these hooks right here that I need to install to hook into the turnbuckles. It gives me a little more room to work here. And you can see I just took a couple of turns, 3 or 4 turns of heavy-duty black duct tape to protect the paint. This is probably a powder coat, I'm guessing, on those springs. The other thing you have to pay attention to is the distance of the cap. You've got to be able to get your springs obviously in. So if you try to install these springs, in this case, which would probably be intuitive way up here like this, it's going to create a problem for you because you won't be able to get your cap on if your spring is up here. So you got to think that through a little bit. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to loosen these turnbuckles enough so that I can hook them over the springs, or over these hooks in the springs rather, and then I can start to turn the turnbuckles here and collapse that spring. Now if for some reason these I can't get the adjustment just right, I do have other hooks I can use, such as this. I think I got a couple of these here somewhere. I keep a number of different hooks around that I can work with if I need to enable me to get a hold of these. But I think I can adjust these turnbuckles out far enough that I won't have to use these to engage with the hooks. If they'd been much shorter, I would have probably had to use these little hooks, which is fine. That works okay. That's not a problem. But I wanted to minimize the amount of hardware I had to work with. And you can see in the basic setup here, I did put a piece of black heavy-duty duct tape also on the spring body here and here, just to protect the finish from the pressure of that hook. I didn't want it abrading it or wearing on it when I tighten these turnbuckles. So the idea now is just take a wrench. This happens to be a 7/16 Imperial. You can see right there. And I will tighten these turnbuckles, thereby collapsing the spring into enough so that I can engage. Oh, first I'll put this on, of course, and then I will be able to engage and thread this fitting onto that, and then it's just a matter of reversing it. So the process is very straightforward. I usually just lay it flat like this. By the way, one other note, make sure that you're pulling equally on each side of the spring. And what I mean is you don't want your hooks here on each side to be not 180 degrees from each other because you want to pull equally on the spring. Again, it's just a matter now of just tightening these turnbuckles equally, and you can tell if you're doing it equally by watching this bolt. And if this bolt starts to do this too much, you know you're not being equal on the turnbuckles, and you just tighten these carefully, watching as you go. And by doing so, we're going to pull this spring down. Now, I've shared before in my previous videos, springs are a form of energy. They are stored energy. They can be very dangerous if not handled properly. So pay attention. You don't want to get your finger in here, because if something goes wrong and that releases, there's a lot of energy contained in these springs. It's one of the, I think if I remember right from my industrial days, there's 4 or 5 forms of stored energy. It's been a while since I went through that training, but springs are one of them. I'm going to now just simply tighten these turnbuckles. I'm not going to do all of that on camera. I'll bring you back once I've got this compressed, and we're going to go ahead and put the spring together, or the shock together. It's literally a minute and a half, 2 minutes later. That's all it took to tighten these turnbuckles enough to pull this spring down so they can get access to the full access to the threads in that lock nut. I did adjust the lock nut up a little bit on the shaft. And the reason I did that is I was limited when I drilled this and tapped this hole. I didn't want to go all the way through into the inside here. So I measured the depth of the threads here that I drilled and tapped. I set this lock nut approximately that same distance to allow this piece to comfortably nest against the top of that lock nut. Now, if this was a competitive machine where I was riding it every day, I would probably apply a little Loctite to this, but since this is really a restoration and is not going to be used a lot, obviously, I will not use Loctite here. And you certainly could if you wanted to, but I'm not going to. To put the unit together, of course, you just fit this over the top, and then that being the cover, and then we're going to thread this fitting in like that. Now I want this hole in the cap to fit into the boss, again that boss inside there, like that, and I'm going to just thread that down, and I will feel it bottom against that lock nut. And in fact, I think it just has, because I'm starting to see the shaft turn, and that does thread on there easily, so I think I am all the way down. So what I'm going to do now is release the tension on these turnbuckles, allow the spring to release, and it'll be essentially complete. And I'll have to hold this assembly here together so everything stays aligned. And there we have our finished shock absorber. I'll have to make this adjustment here in line and make sure they're both the same. That being this adjustment right here. But it's done, and it was pretty straightforward and easy to do. Again, the whole exercise was to really be able to use these caps, these covers, that were originally part of the project. So I'm quite happy with the way those turned out. So we'll go ahead in an upcoming video, probably next video, I'll install these and maybe move on to the front forks and get those back together. Steering stem, of course, is already installed. The triple tree, I think we'll mount these and the front forks back on the bike in the next video. That's going to be it for this episode today, folks. Any issues, questions, thoughts, drop me a note. Otherwise, as usual, thanks for watching.